New today, Utah's strict abortion trigger law will not go into effect, at least for now. It comes after the state Supreme Court ruled that the Planned Parenthood Association of Utah does have a standing to sue the state over the new law.
Planned Parenthood says that the law, which bans all abortion except in cases when the mother's life is at risk or there is a fatal fetal abnormality, violates state constitution. For now, abortion until 18 weeks of pregnancy remain legal here in Utah. The court's abortion ruling is our top story today on 2 News at 4 o'clock. Thanks for being with us. I'm Jim Spiewak.
And I'm Heidi Hatch. Glad you're with us. In the wake of this decision, more change may be coming at the Utah legislature. A state senator is now urging a special session to lower Utah's abortion ban to a gestational age of just 6 weeks.
Brian Malahy is joining us live outside of the Matheson courthouse this afternoon. So Brian, what's the governor saying?
Yeah, we've actually switched and moved to the Capitol because we're talking about the governor here, and he is not saying yes or no to a special session, but that discussions will happen on the best way to, quote, protect our most vulnerable. Here's Senator Dan McKay earlier today.
We're looking at states that, that have a 6-week ban and moving our 18-week gestational ban down to 6 weeks potentially. The courts have already upheld and supported that, and we're hopeful that we might be able to make that adjustment as well.
I will say I'm not surprised that that statement was released, and at this point in time, we will wait for anything new to develop as we continue to litigate our current case. And should something new develop, we'll be right there.
Both sides agreed today's Supreme Court ruling was on a procedural matter, not the final word on the near total ban, which again is not being enforced while under court injunction. On 2 News at 5 o'clock, pro-life groups say that as a result of this decision, more lives will be lost here in Utah by abortion. What Planned Parenthood has to say about that coming up at 5 o'clock. Live outside the Capitol, Brian Malahy, KUTV 2 News.
All right, Brian, thank you. Our coverage of the Supreme Court's ruling today continues. Joining us live in studio now is the president of Pro-Life Utah, Mary Taylor.
All right, so Mary, thanks so much for taking a few minutes to join us here. Your thoughts on the ruling and how it impacts Pro-Life Utah?
Oh, it's a sad, sad day in the state of Utah. Over 6,000 preborn babies have died since the injunction was in place. This ruling will ensure that thousands, maybe 10,000s of more preborn babies will die by abortion. So we are just heartsick.
It's been 2 years since this ruling's happened. It's probably still a long road of a court battle of what's going to happen next. Does Pro-Life Utah find that there's any maybe middle ground where maybe both sides would be happier, or is it the all or nothing?
We are dedicated to protecting all unborn preborn babies.
Where do you think we go from here? This issue is probably not over, at least here in the state of Utah. You were with Senator Dan McKay earlier today when he announced that he may be calling for a special session.
Right.
Where do we go from here from Pro-Life Utah stance?
Right. Well, it's very early, so a lot is up in the air. One thing is for sure, we will not quit advocating for the right to life of the preborn. For Pro-Life Utah itself, we will focus on our women's support team that we have had in place for several years. We will offer women who feel backed into an abortion financial resources, emotional support, and friendship, and very often that makes a complete difference.
How often are women taking you up on that offer and using those services here in Utah?
Last year, I think we had an 88% success rate once a woman agreed to sit down and talk to us about what we had to offer, 88%.
And did they usually keep their children or put them up for adoption, or what happens in that situation?
Every situation is different, but the vast majority of our clients keep their babies. Like I said, most women feel backed into a corner, and once you give them some resources and some assistance, everything changes.
When Roe was overturned, a lot of people said this gives the power back to the states. Do you feel like the ruling gave the power to the states, or did not?
Yeah, I do not. I do not. The Dobbs decision clearly stated that this issue went back to the people and their legislators. And we've had a duly processed bill blocked by the courts for over 2 years now. So I certainly do not feel like that is the case.
What's the next step for pro-life Utah? And if there's anyone who's watching right now who's in a situation where they're thinking they don't know what to do and what their next step is, where do they find you? What resources do you have?
Yes, go to our website. Pregnancy Choice Utah is who we operate under for that program. And give us a call, come down to our mobile clinic. Give us a call first because it's mobile and you want to know where it's at, right? The resources that we have are both financial and emotional. We have a team that's assigned to all of our clients who is there 24/7 for her. We provide all of the baby supplies that she's going to need for the first year. And oftentimes a woman is forced into that decision by a particular problem. So we sit down and assess and see what we can do financially or otherwise to solve that problem.
All right, Mary Taylor, the president of Pro-Life Utah, thank you very much for taking a few minutes with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
Our coverage of the Supreme Court's ruling here continues today in Utah. Joining us live in studio is Democratic candidate for Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Cummings. Thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for being with us today. So your initial thoughts and response to the ruling?
Sure, and thank you so much for having me. I mean, my initial response is that it's a good day for Utah families and for Utah women who now, at least for now, can continue accessing the necessary medical coverage that they need.
When this was overturned 2 years ago, the decision was set to the states. The legislature made this trigger law, which is now in the courts. Do you see that the legislature and how it's made up, whether it's how it's made up now or next year after the elections, has the right to make those decisions?
No, I really do believe that the people who need to make these medical decisions are the people closest to that, and that's the woman who has the right to decide what to do for her health care and to make decisions about her family planning.
What is your response to the fact that this fight is not over yet? We just heard from Senator Dan McKay earlier today, said that he is considering calling a special session and reducing it down to 6 weeks.
Right.
Your thoughts to the fact that, this fight is not over yet?
Right, and I think I even heard 4 to 6 weeks was the range that they were talking about. I mean, this fight certainly isn't over. We're happy with the decision today to uphold the injunction. It's going down to the district court. Well, they'll decide the constitutionality of this. But of course, it's going to be up to the legislature ultimately to pass a law that makes sense for Utahns, a law that doesn't, that respects the individual liberties of Utahns to make choices about their life and their family and their health.
A lot of people have very personal beliefs on this issue. It's not necessarily Republican or Democrat, but if you look back even a couple decades ago under Bill Clinton, it was safe, legal, and rare for abortions. And it seems the entire country has gone largely away from that. And that was kind of the far left-leaning belief. Do you believe there's a way to get back to that?
Sure. I mean, I think we would actually still agree. We want abortion to be safe, legal, and rare. One of the most frustrating talking points I hear sometimes from the other side of the political aisle is that, Democrats love abortions. No one loves abortions. They're some of the most painful and heart-wrenching decisions that women have to make. To have it be more rare, I think we need more education. We need to help people have access to preventative resources like Planned Parenthood offers. And of course, we need abortions to be safe, which is what they are right now. Of course, if we have a 4 to 6 week abortion ban in Utah, it becomes significantly less safe.
So as we sit here right now, what are you telling women who are maybe going through this process or this decision? What are we telling women today?
Well, I think one thing that we're telling women is that right now, abortion is still legal in the state of Utah and can be accessed up to 18 weeks. Another thing I would say to women is, if this is an issue that you care about, regardless of your personal feelings towards abortion, but if you believe the government needs to stay out of the most personal, private, and consequential decisions that women make, then they need to show up on Election Day and every election day thereafter to vote for leaders who reflect the things that they believe in.
A lot of people are talking about the fact that this is an important decision and it's what's going to make your decision for president. Right now, the Supreme Court obviously has turned it down to states. Do you believe that the president can have a say in this?
Sure. I mean, of course, the president has a big say in this. All of our elected leaders do. We need to elect people into their positions that can reflect the will of the voters. And if you look at polling both in Utah and nationwide, a 4 to 6 week abortion ban is on the extreme end of what people want in this country. I think most people agree, like you said, abortion should be safe, legal, and rare, and that mostly it's up to the woman to make the decision about those families, working, of course, with her partner and her doctor. But these are incredibly complicated decisions. As you know, every circumstance is unique, every pregnancy is unique. unique, and no one is better suited to make those choices than a woman and her doctor.
All right, Rebecca Cummings, candidate for Lieutenant Governor, thank you so much for taking a few minutes with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.